Okay, hi everyone. Ni hao, bonjour to the online world. So this is in discussion to the um, augmented stuff which is being developed around a very limited data set where the candidates are selected based on zillion parameters and then the bot is being maneuvered in real time with the data set. So I will be walking you through some of the essence of it. So folks who wish to replicate this with their own models, they can do that because it's not possible for us to share these models with the open public at large. But anyhow, we can definitely facilitate the folks to understand this with their own data set. Particularly, I'm talking about the healthcare right now and how the upscaling in terms of the ailments, which is dementia, then Alzheimer's, and the others, which is very, very common right now in all the sectors, that is, in terms of child, adult, and senior. So, all these three categories are at risk, as stated by different published research papers globally, particularly due to the lockdown calamity which happened in 2020 and beyond. We are in 2025, so I'm putting myself on mute. Let me just fetch out that data and we will talk about it. And in and around, we can always look into the data set, which is the, I would say it's not detrimental, but at the same point of time, it is effective to treat the ailment by understanding the psychological aspect of interpersonal intelligence. So there's something called as physical intelligence. There's something called as interpersonal intelligence, and I'll walk you through the understanding of interpersonal intelligence. So I'm putting myself on mute. We'll start in a while. Okay, so first of all, when we're talking about interpersonal intelligence, so this can be deployed for very small data sets where the candidates are selected on Zillion parameters and they give full consent. They know and they're aware about what they are getting into in terms of the input and what is the result they can expect or their family members can expect from the deployment of this particular module, which should be proprietary to your own self in terms of creating the data set of a kind of a portrait. So you can utilize the term, or I would say a candidate portrait, and that can be utilized to prepare your own data set. So we start with the classifications first of all, and one of my favorite classification is the crawling technique, which is used for indexing. That is G06F16/951 for the clustering and the classification, which again is based on a number of parameters. That is G06F16/35. When we are utilizing additional data, which should be utilized and it should be dynamic to the individual capacity of the candidate, that comes under 606F, G06F 16/335, which is, for example, if I have to talk about it, it's a candidate, and the candidate should not be in conjunction with, and particularly just negate these, understanding of the school, the colleges they come from. That data set honestly is a bogus data set, because I would rather say 3 years back, we did a very research incentive based survey, which was given to the best of the colleges globally, whether it's Ivy League and the others, and it was a global one. So it's not looking at the tribes based out in India or perhaps China and the others. It was very global in nature and was very selective at the same point of time, and the incentives were provided at a very large scale. So what we realized with the output was same school, same college, same class, and everything. That data set itself is a very hallucinated data set. Why I say it's a hallucinated data set? Because peers who are studying under a control group, which is a school or a college, and the others, there are few who qualify the exam. Then there are few who the intake is based on the leaking of the examination paper at the first instance. There are students who come with some kind of it's like buying a seat for that particular stuff, for that particular course perhaps. So those data sets have to be negated, because once you negate that data set, you are able to get a good input data set in terms of creating that interpersonal intelligence, which is somehow core, or rather I would say change is the core. Change is not a constant, and that in many ways can be explained, but that will be something which we'll be discussing in detail in 2026 and beyond. But whatever days are left in 2025, if you look at this calendar, perhaps there are other calendars around which the year is over, but according to whatever the global calendar we are utilizing, this is what the data set talks about. And then we have this personalization part and the customization part, which is G06F16/9535. So this is the basic classification. You can also go into the CPC and have a very detailed understanding of this whole discussion. Let's deep dive into this particular formulation. Okay. Okay, now for the longest time we have been talking about the app model itself is broken. When I say the app model is broken, particularly it means that maybe an app has zillion users, out of which a lot of users are hallucinated, users or synthetic users which are actually not existing, but they have their profiles on that platform. Given a embodiment whereby I say
the reason I think I called you after that was because हम लोग वहीं पर गए थे for trials and then we realized that हम पैसे भी देते हैं.
so there's a lot of discussion around, or I rather, if I have to explain this, I have to go back to the 1990s and understand one thing very clearly. A lot of business models which are being run in the online world is nothing but MLM, or somehow trying to join with the previous one. A very good example would be somewhere, I mean, the kids of the 90s would be able to appreciate this. There used to be a tenure where folks used to send books, magazines to their peers, to unknown people. It was like, send this to 5 people, used to post it to the other countries, and from the other countries used to receive those PO box letters and whatnot. Now, when this is replicated in the online world, and very good example could be Amazon in their early phases. So, in this particular stuff, let's understand if there's an application of any sort. The reading interest of the peer in that application, say for example, we select maybe 15 candidates because of whatever reasons, because we have a parameters very set one-to-one as to how it has to work, and at the back end of the admin, which is the collection module, I would rather say, what is the collection module doing? It is collecting every article or post the user has ever, or the candidate has ever read in the application. And for the each articles, like we have, like now if you post or research paper, there's something called as research keywords. So based on that tagging, it could be just to understand the interest of the candidate. It could be sports, it could be artificial intelligence, though people, I would rather say 99.99% have no understanding what the artificial intelligence is all about. But still, let's talk about artificial intelligence. And there's something called as parenting, playing drums, learning piano and whatnot. And origami is something I just did recently, so we can add that also here. Okay, then what we are doing is kind of a head count. Head count is basically counting, like on an average, you would be seeing this, like if they're on the basis of the word count of the article itself. In many of the cases, you are there. The computation is such that you are able to see the number of minutes one would require to read that particular paragraph, whatnot. But there are some folks, like professionally or by degree, I have, one of my degrees is law degree, and it's been, oh my gosh, I've stopped counting the number of years I have been in this profession. And one of the advantage of being in the law profession is a lot of reading is involved. I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, we if the reading goes on, we like, I don't know how many pages or how many tabs, I can't even count it. It's like countless number of stuff we have to just, you know, walk through every day just to understand the crux. And once the cognitive ability is trained to do that, that is when you gain momentum to understand things the way it should be understood. Okay, so let's get back to this. So count how often the candidate is reading the material which is associated with particular tag, and how it appears, and you know, even the tagging itself can be divided into weights. Weights is like, it can be a down weight, it can be up weight. So a lot of emphasis is provided there, and just to make it interactive, a lot of tools are provided, and it's always beneficial to give some kind of caveat to the candidate so that the candidate is interested in reading whatever the content is all about. So it's kind of a reading interest candidature, which is perhaps kind of a persona of that particular candidate to be utilized to create something better for that candidate, so the candidate comes back to the application. And there's some sort of coding is going on in our office today. Oh my gosh. Guys, I'm online. Okay, so there's a lot of fun in our office. It's everything is so colored here. Lot of colors everywhere, and some kind of drill is ongoing in our office. So bear with us. A lot of sounds are being tested right now. Okay, let's get back to the understanding of this particular stuff. Okay, so what is the intent of doing whatever we are doing when we are trying to create the interpersonal modules which has loads of submodules? So in this particular case, or perhaps one can be utilizing different mapping tools. So that itself can be divided into multi submodules. One such could be piano for beginners, which is like musical and the body kinesthetic understanding of how color coding can be utilized for the piano stuff. I can talk about it because one of my first wiper application, that is World Intellectual Property Organization, way back, I mean way back, I don't want to get into the year, but that was around color coding of keyboards, and I was very fascinated by that because music is something, or I would rather say all these musical instruments, these are a very good way to upskill your own cognitive ability, because when you are actually developing these kind of products for the masses, you yourself have to be in that zone of understanding what you are getting into and what that input data would look like for the masses when they utilize it for any of the case studies. And perhaps this, once it is for, in some form, we would be giving it to the public in near future in 2026. Perhaps I'm looking at the timeline of September 2026 right now. So by that time, I think a lot of things would have changed in terms of what we are accomplishing every day. So there's this another term which is very important, is interpersonal and intrapersonal. So how you're able to collaborate, just look into that aspect. Interpersonal and intrapersonal. So let's look into it and see how it works. Okay. See, people like to use the vector formula. I'm not a very big fan on vectors. I personally like a very simple understanding of whether it's a yes or no, or just be neutral, because then the parameter is limited. So there are only 3 parameters to work with, and it's very easy to put it on the axis of understanding of what needs to be done at a I would say in a frame of mind or time which is the possible solution in the shortest possible time. I think that's how the products have to be developed when we're talking about the intelligence, and particularly intrapersonal intelligence and interpersonal intelligence. Okay, so in this particular example, I would say, okay, this reading also, some reading is tagged as comfort zone. So it's like what is comforting to someone might not be comforting to the other candidate. And at the same point of time, there's another understanding of growth zone. So you have comfort zone, growth zone, and whatnot. So you can always have these events divided into zones. So take it as a pie. I would also just take it as a circle and see how the candidates, and it's never the first 100 candidates or first 10 candidates. It has to be selection wise, and selection itself, okay, I'm getting a lot of DMs in terms of writing research papers, being part of the companies, taking stakes, without even knowing the whole balance of who are the real players who would be funding the whole operation of what is being trying to be accrued over the period of time. So that is something one needs to look into as far as where is the money coming from, because time and again, particularly with different landscapes, it has been seen that funding from the right resource will take your model to the next level, and it will be impactful. But in some cases, when you are not taking the funding from the right resource, things just tumble down like pack of cards. So what I need to do is just to give a synopsis to end this session would be work around developing intelligent modules and intelligent submodules which will be good enough to at least if I would rather say just take 5 candidates, because then you can have these open-ended questions to them, and the very simple way is to have a recording with them rather than telling them to just write down something, because folks have lost interest, and particularly if you're trying to take the cognitive ability of the kids to the next level, you cannot get them into writing, but you can get them into talking. So simple questions, get these recordings from the kids, maybe tell them, okay, it's 30 minutes recording, and clock that and see how they're able to answer, or perhaps just give them 10 questions and you say, okay, how many questions you wish to answer in 30 minutes. So at least that will give you the understanding of one very basic point, how much they are keen on even resolving what is at hand, and let them read those 10 questions. So you as a person who is into the coding, as a data scientist, because again, you have to be data scientist, at the same point of time you have to be somebody who's able to solve the problem. It's like skill set of different domains, combine them, and then only you will be able to see the magic. Thank you for watching this out. I'm sorry I was not able to answer the questions asked today, because this had to be done, because this is being clogged right now for our own records. So thank you for watching this out. Happy to discuss. As we discussed in the earlier video today, please come with your term sheets. Please don't send us those vague, random GPTs and LLM mails. It makes no sense whatsoever. So if something has to be worked out, we will be happy to do that, but it has to be very concrete, and we have our ways and means to do due diligence at the back end even before we contact you again. And that is the reason you are not hearing from us, in terms of there's so many enterprises, companies who are connecting with me, or who are trying to connect with me on a regular basis, but we have our own protocols the way we connect. So thank you for watching this out. I believe this was of some assistance to the folks who really wish to work in this domain, and definitely it's very impactful and is one of the pain points in this new world order. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.